Come on, back inside. Come on. In. Teddy. I don't have time for this. Teddy.
Good morning. We're on week 60 of YouTube University, Visibility University, teaching you how to get started with YouTube and, build your YouTube, build your audience, build your credibility. And also, we're using Restream so we can multi-stream your live streams to multiple social medias at the same time, bringing your content and building your visibility across multiple social medias while building your audience across multiple different social medias, promoting your business, bringing your knowledge. I think that's the most important thing, bringing your knowledge, because there's so many business owners who've got all this knowledge trapped and it's not getting shown to the internet. I know I've met a lot of people recently in Texas, and they're like, "Hey, I started YouTube, I started Substack because of you," and I'm like, "That's amazing!" And I've been watching the content that they've been making because it's again so many business owners out there, so many content creators who are amazingly skilled in their craft, whether it's uh business promotion or woodworking. I've been watching a woodworking. There's a guy here in Texas, and he does woodworking, and I've been watching his stuff. And I'm like, hey, you're funny, great personality, great on camera, and I'm sure you've got a lot of knowledge about woodworking that a lot of people at home can learn from. And hey, it's a great promotional tool for your business because everybody's got those secret desires of learning a new skill, but without a trusted mentor, without a trusted teacher, how are they going to learn those skills? What do people do these days? They're like, hey, I want to learn something. And they go over to YouTube and they start searching for, like in my instance, people want to learn about computers and cybersecurity. So they go and start watching YouTube channels about computers and cybersecurity. If you're interested in yoga, you may end up on my wife's channel learning about yoga or meditation or breath work. So this is the whole reason we started. Again, welcome. It's week 60. We've been doing this. We've been live streaming every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern for over a year. Because again, I woke up this morning and I got people in my Facebook DMs asking me how they can move past 500 subs on their YouTube channel, or move past, they get stuck at 900, or they get stuck at 995, or whatever the case may be. They're like, how do I move forward and upwards with my subscribers while focusing on getting watch time? And this is precisely why I was told in 2025, hey, you talk about YouTube a lot, you should be live streaming about YouTube every single day. And I'm like, hey, we can get started with that on Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern. So welcome again. This is Saturday morning Ask Me Anything. So we're streaming on YouTube, and we're streaming on LinkedIn, and we're streaming on Facebook. So if you got any questions about getting started with YouTube, building your channel, content, scripting, titles, thumbnails, whatever challenge you're having with YouTube, or maybe you got a podcast over on Spotify or Apple and you're just not really sure how to bring that content over to YouTube, drop the questions in the chat. We'd love to discuss strategy and mindset, and any of your questions that you have for us, we'll answer those to the best of our abilities. Good morning, Julianne. How are you doing?
Good. Just a little drama before, because this is the whole good thing about going live streaming is you have the best intent, everything is good, and then your dog starts heaving just before you go live.
Um,
So, like, I guess that makes it real, right? You know that we are, we're real, we're showing up, because chaos always happens, right?
As life of dogs. So any of you dog lovers out there, don't let dogs be your excuse to not live stream because we have 3 of them that we travel with, and there could be dog fights in the middle of the live stream. There could be any of the fun, energetic. I've got a Great Pyrenees like sitting here right next to me asking for pets. So if you see a big white fluffy polar bear head pop up on live stream, that is my Great Pyrenees. As you can tell, my hand's moving. He's asking for love.
Just like your dog, literally, I was gonna come on. I'm getting up and the heaving. We have 4 seconds to go live. Like that's real life right there, right?
But no excuses, right? Because
No.
with the beauty with Restream, the broadcast software we're using, we can put up we don't actually have to be on camera, right? We can put up screens like this, overlays. We can put stuff up and just leave a get waiting message or whatever the case is. So
Exactly, exactly, especially when, you're ready to go, everything's good, and then life happens, right? Like your
I think
dog
I
starts
think it, I,
heaving
I think that
as you
might
go to
be
calm down.
one way people get stuck is when they're trying to prepping to go like typically when we talk to content creators, they're like, "Well, how do you go live?" And I'm like, "We're using broadcast software on a computer." And then I get the looks like broadcasts, and then I'm like, "Hey, let me pull up my YouTube channel on my phone, and I'll show you exactly the power of using broadcast software." It's also called encoder software. There's examples out there like OBS and StreamYard. We use Restream for some particular reasons that we decided to use it for, but it gives you the ability to um, do some fancy work like put screens up, bring in the chat messages, have a ticker at the bottom of the screen. So these are the cool things we teach you in YouTube University. I know a lot of people when they first get started with live streaming, they've just got their phone on a tripod, and that's great for getting
And
started.
exactly, exactly, it's the
But
best way to start because it's easy and everybody's got a phone, right?
But it can bring in unexpected surprises like tripod not being stable, terrible audio quality. Because if you don't have a wireless lapel mic built if you don't have a wireless lapel mic on plugged into your phone, audio quality can be terrible.
Well, we've
Wireless
had problems
Oh, yeah.
when
Eh
I was doing lives, doing the vertical only with the phone where my the vol it just there'd be no volume for no apparent reason, nothing wrong with your phone, so I'd have everything set up to go live, you go live, and then there's no audio. Then you'd have to stop the live and go live again, and then it would magically work. So, technology has its little glitches, but one of the biggest things I think we should definitely talk about that I found out this week in the creator partner meeting we were in is the difference between streaming vertically versus horizontally. It did answer my questions to what I had seen on the back end because they both serve different purposes.
Yeah, go ahead with that.
So when you're streaming, like this is the reason we've picked Restream as one of the big reasons is we can dual live stream to YouTube. Actually, we can stream to multiple YouTube channels, but we can do both vertical and horizontal to every channel. Now, the big perk is vertical will show up in the shorts. So vertical is the way people can find you because it's going to show up in the shorts feed as they're just scanning through. That gives the opportunity to be seen to a larger crowd. When your landscape or horizontal, this is more so for your regulars because it's a little bit clearer. You see a little bit more. That's somebody who's already subscribed to you. They're going to be notified and they'll see that one. They'll probably see both. They can definitely see both, but that's also where you're going to get the longer watch time as well as monetization, watch hours, really. Because when you're doing the shorts or having the vertical feed, doesn't mean you're not going to get watch time and monetization. However, that's more so going to be pushed that just people randomly can come across you, right?
And it's also to appeal to all the different devices out there because YouTube is not just one algorithm, there's multiple algorithms, and it's not just viewable on one device. Like there's phones, tablets, computers, laptops, and now big screen TVs, right? So of course, vertical looks different on mobile than horizontal would. So it's just really providing a video feed for the best format that your viewer is watching on. And because shorts is so popular, and youtube YouTube's got a lack of content, right? Like they're always there, even though there's millions of videos, millions. I think there's what 20 million videos per day uploaded to YouTube or something crazy like that. It's still not enough content because this is why the benefit of simultaneous what do they call it? They call it, I don't know, I can't remember what word they use at YouTube.
Simulcasting? Is that what you
Yeah,
were
but
looking
they call it dual output simulcasting or something really technical like that, right? And it's like, and when we were told about it last year, they're like, "Hey, just hook up your, then there was a technical way to do it, but it was like really challenging because I was like, "Hey, wait a minute, you're supposed to do it
Well, it's
from
not
both."
it wasn't really challenging. I would say it's more convoluted, right? So you'd
Well,
have your phone set up, then you would have your computer. So you'd have your computer or laptop to do the horizontal, then you'd have your phone for your vertical. And that doesn't really work if you want to have consistency or show screens or anything like that. If you're just going to live stream and talk at a device, that's fine. That'll work, but it's a little convoluted. You got to make sure all the different items are working. I find Restream works great because you only have one device. So you only have to use your laptop and you can stream simultaneously both. You're not playing around with your camera or a phone on top of your computer camera, just so it just makes it easier, than having to try to make them all work and make sure it's always working each time, right? Because the more devices you add, the more complexity and the more likely you can have a problem.
precisely, and the whole point of uh showing up on YouTube is learning to get confident with being on screen and having a conversation with your audience or your co-host or whatever. That's why we love Restream, because we can I don't see any of our YouTube University students signing in this morning, but it's Saturday in July. But I see that we do have live viewers, so that's amazing. So just putting it that way, Restream, the broadcast software that we're using, allows us to do both vertical and horizontal, same quality, same image, no complexity, super easy to stream, and then bringing in guests and presenting images or videos or whatever you want to do
Or
is
your
just,
screen, exactly. It's easy, it's streamlined versus the convoluted way we were told about with having multiple devices, which does work, and it's a way you can do it. However, like I said, and being in tech, the more devices, the more likely you can have a problem or something doesn't connect or something's not working properly because you're all set up and then, your audio's not working on your iPhone and you don't even know because you can't even see the comments because you're also going to get comments from the different feeds. When you're on Restream, they're all in one area, right?
yeah,
So
well,
then you're going to be monitoring your phone, monitoring your computer. We're already trying to practice, or not always trying. We're practicing, we're mastering our skills to live stream, to get our message across. We want to fine tune it. Let's get rid of the extra waste. Let's make it as clean and streamlined as
well,
possible. That is what I love about Restream. I'm just gonna
well,
say. I know we're not resellers. We don't make any money off of it.
oh,
It's
and it doesn't matter. I looked into it. They do not do that stuff. They
well,
don't
that
do
no,
sponsorship.
we're only just recommending what works best for us. Does this mean in 6 months or a year this is gonna be the same software? Not necessarily, because we do know technology is advancing and, some other software that we might have used before might come out with some new feature and just work a little bit better, right?
Well, and I know traditionally, most of our students have come from like the Zoom or the Restream or Riverside. They're like, hey, I was doing podcasts or blah, blah, blah. And it's like all tools are great, just depending on how you want to apply that tool, right? So you can just go live on YouTube It's not gonna be vertical and horizontal at the same time. Like you can manually upload, but we have also those tools in Restream. So it's like, hey, this tool covers a lot of your bases, and I've actually used it to replace Zoom in my particular situation with business, because I know that if I'm jumping on to call with somebody and I want to record it or what, I'm like, it just makes my life easier in the back end because of just the tools it gives me. So, anyway, that's just
Well, it does. It's got a lot of tools, a lot of great features, and I do find it, like, unless you're doing big Zoom calls where you've got over 10 people on a regular basis, and or you're doing it for, like, a 200 people and you wanna do it, then there might be then you might be going back to Zoom, because it is unfortunate. Zoom used to be able to stream to other platforms directly, but they kind of removed that feature early in 2020. So that was an interesting observation as well, right?
it happens. So
Yeah. Well,
that's why
everything changes, right?
that's why you can connect Zoom to tools like Restream, and then, you know, Zoom is where the meeting happens. You connect it to Restream, and then with Restream, you're able to then connect to multiple. You know, like you can literally connect to Substack, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Roku, custom Roku channels, whatever. That's the power of an encoder tool like Restream. So anyway, welcome. If you're just tuning in, this is week 60, Visibility University. Ask us anything. I haven't looked at the chat yet. Do we have any activity in the
We
chat,
do
or
not
is
have any questions thus far in the chat.
everybody sleeping on a Saturday morning? Well, that's fine. We
I
can
I
go.
well, I was gonna mention, you know what? One of the other big things that I do like about Restream, because 'cause we're just gonna go on a, like, we're fangirls and boys about Restream. No, I just think it's a great tool, is let's say you can't make it live. However, I was gonna say for these 60 weeks, we have not missed 1 week for 60 weeks getting up to be live 9 a.m. Eastern on a Saturday morning, which
Why do you think I picked that time slot?
'Cause you are a sucker for punishment. That is why. No, but I was gonna say, I think that's actually quite amazing. There has not been 1 week missed, but however, what happened this week? We've had a few times where something happens and it conflicts with our evening schedule, because that can be a little bit harder to guarantee every evening at 7 Eastern, we go live for whatever show we're doing. So the nice thing with Restream, you can record it and it will still put it as live, where you can't really do that directly to YouTube. If you pre-record it, it's just gonna go up as a video. It's not gonna be put as a live, right? So that's another great feature. However, the only thing that I wish we could do was pre-record it so we could record it in both vertical and horizontal, because when you do pre-record it, you may notice on our accounts that it will only show up usually horizontally, because we'll usually you can only pick one way to actually record it, and then you would stream it in that direction. So that's the only downfall. However, it still does go as a live, so you can still push it at your normal live time if you can't actually make it live for that specific week, right?
True, true. So it's, but again, vertical and horizontal, I guess it's not likely beta anymore, but it's brand new. So that may be added in the future. So we'll just keep you posted as we learn more and more features of Restream. Realistically, learn it. That was the title for week 60 was really YouTube's got shows, which that's a brand new feature, and then of course Restream for us. We're like 6 7 months into using Restream, so we're still discovering new features relatively every single week, because they're like, hey, did you know you could do this? Did you know you could do this? And I'm like, good to know. I've been using it, and and maybe not using it properly, or not knowing about all the features, because you can read documentation, you could read a manual, but what have I learned about, like, learning about Substack? There
There is
really
no
isn't
manual.
there is no
There's no
manual,
manual.
and that's why I wanna yeah, you gotta literally go and play with things and be like, "Hey, this should really be documented," but there's not really any documentation about that. So make our own documentation and teach it to our students who show up for weekly coaching on their YouTube, right? Because
I sorry, I feel like we're in definitely the wild, wild west with, like, technology where it's just like they just throw stuff out, no documentation, nobody really knows how to use it. You gotta figure it out, and all I can think about is the young generation, it's totally perfect for them. The ones that just like playing around with stuff, that will spend like our daughter. Our daughter figures things out because she's playing around with it. She's playing with her tools. She finds how these features work. It's different as you get older. Not that you don't wanna do it, but we have only so many hours in the day, so that's why often we're not actually, I've never even touched this feature because I didn't even think to, and one of the things that if you do look back at some of our older videos, when we started with Restream, we I didn't know how to do it and make the images look really nice and fine and, sleek to change between the different images. So that was a huge, like, bump up when I figured out how to do that, right? Sometimes I feel a little slow, like I should have been on top of that, but again, you have to remember, especially as you're an adult and you've got children or, you know, life, work, responsibilities. I get it, like, that's why you keep showing up, that's why you keep refining, that's why you keep learning, right?
yes, because you could even be told about a feature and look, you're like, yeah, and you're like, wait a minute, I wasn't even using that properly, or I could have been way smoother with that, or like, what? I'm using something nice to have. This is where the value of coaches come in, is somebody who's already achieved something you haven't achieved yet, because in our it's like is with our with our paid YouTube students, we're like, okay, just pointing. I don't want to say pointing out the obvious because it wasn't obvious to them. It's just that they wanted to achieve something like increase the subs or increase the watch time or perfection is something, and we'll be like, hey, this is the strategy we use, and just as an example, this is the strategy we use,
Well,
and they're
and
like,
you learn from other people, right? Because sometimes the way we're using something is not necessarily how that creator, our student, might be using it, or they might need a different feature that we didn't even think about. And then we get to learn, and then we have more knowledge and information to help other people in the, depending on what they want to use. And
I was just going to point out that when somebody asked me how to make thumbnails and I gave them visual examples of them, like, oh, you could use AI tools, you could use Claude, you could use Gemini, you could use ChatGPT, and I got the feedback they didn't want to use AI for making thumbnails, and then they sent me a thumbnail that they made. I'm like, that looks amazing. How did you make it? It was in ChatGPT, and I'm like, I thought I told you to use it as a sample, and I got the feedback you didn't like it, and then you still used it. So okay, communications with humans is awesome.
I'm gonna say sometimes we don't even understand what we're using. I'm getting that. I get the idea, or not the idea. It's a good thing it's first thing in the morning. Um, we don't necessarily know the right terms. That is the problem because I know I'll explain something to you. I know you know what I mean, but I'm using the wrong term. And then you're like, I don't know what you're meaning. Like, you know exactly what I mean, just because I don't know the technical term. And some people are like yourself will totally get hung up on the technical terms. Then the layman is like trying to describe things. And I'll
Well, that's because I understand what the term is, and it's not like it's not clicking because it's like, wait a minute, but it's tech support. This is what I do, tech support. Yesterday,
Okay, I have to share the perfect example. When I was pregnant, it was summer in Calgary. It was hot, normal hot Stampede. And we got back from Stampede and I was laying on the floor and we had a fan installed. And I was like, I could not remember that word. And I'm like, turn off the wind, turn it off. And that is your responsibility is to understand and translate what that meant.
I was like yesterday doing tech support because my main job is 24/7 tech support for business owners, both PC and Mac tech support. And what was it yesterday? It was like, Google's not letting me log into Google. And I'm like, Google's not letting you log into Google. And then will send me a remote support link. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And she's like, I told you Google's not letting me log into Google. And I'm like, so I'm like, you know what? This is just going to be easier on the phone. So I jump on the phone. And then she's like, Thunderbird. Thunderbird won't Google's popping up in Thunderbird. It won't let me log into Google. And I'm like, it's a permissions issue with Gmail. She didn't say Gmail. It was just Google, Google, Google. And I'm like, and I was like,
Yes,
click
that's
on
because
yes, click on accept all, click on yes. I don't agree to the terms and conditions. And I'm like, well, stop using Gmail in Thunderbird. Well, that's kind of a drastic answer. I'm like,
well,
well,
Mike,
you're
you do get pretty drastic, and that you know what? That is because you will totally say stuff to me, and I'm not gonna lie,
well,
you
I'm
ever
like,
hear this from my husband, I feel like just a bitch slap across his face, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like,
well,
really, dude?"
the challenge is that if you were using Gmail within the Gmail within the browser, you wouldn't be asked a question about privacy. But if you're using it in Thunderbird and the email client, you're going to be asked that question once in a while, and click yes or no. That's the answer. Is click yes or no. If you click yes, your email will come in. If you click no, your email won't come in. So
And that is what you're good at. You are good at translating what the layman so that's the whole thing is you diagnose what is their actual problem because the words they're using is not actually correct. They're not actually sure because the majority of people don't actually know those proper words or the proper terms for some of these things. And that's where your expertise does come in. I want to jump back to the coaching thing. What they coach. And they've never even ran a coach's business. So you kind of went under the assumption that coaches have mastered something. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of coaches that have never used things, then they're coaching people, but they've never actually been successful in that field. So if you really want to have a coach, I would highly recommend when you are looking for somebody to help you, whether it's in YouTube or your business or wherever you're doing, that you pick somebody who's actually been successful in that field. Because the reality is, yeah, you can hire a coach to help you be motivated to show up, do your YouTube videos. But if they don't know how to use any of the technology, they don't know how to upload it to YouTube, they don't know how to make a short, they don't know how to use different software, they don't have these experiences. Are you going to get as much out of them if they can't really answer those questions? So I think that's another thing and I'm not gonna lie, I really dislike the word coach because my experience with most coaches is they literally give you this binder of papers because they've signed into some company, so they're coaching under this company name, and they've never even ran a business, right? Because most of them are business coaches, not to diss business coaches. However, we need business coaches that were actually people that have been making and building.
that have gone through the ups and downs of business, and they got through year 5 without imploding their whole financials and business and personal connections and all that fun stuff.
Exactly, and that's what we really sell is I don't really want you to see us as a coach. We wanna more so be your partner, and as your partner, we're gonna help guide you, answer your questions, and just tell you what where our experiences have had. Like, what I do versus what you do, we take different views, and we do things slightly different, and we've both learned huge amount because we're not doing it exactly the same. And then we can combine our knowledge of what we've used and worked with over these last 5 plus years, making content, creating content, getting better at making content to help other people. Because one of the best things that we do see is when our students are successful. And one of our students is almost at that 1,000 subs. Like is literally, I don't know if today they're going to make that 1,000
Oh,
subs.
I think it's like stuck at 895, but that's been a increase of over 800 subs in the last 28 days, which is just crazy growth. But
And it's
that's also
and it's perfect because it's really doing and following the steps we said that work to be successful. And now, of course, not everyone's going to have the exact same success. However, you can see it working, right? You can see when you're consistently showing up, you're doing the process, it does pay off.
well,
Now, we do know there is also parts of especially it's well now known through, the monetize like, when we're dealing with our creator partners or dealing or, talking to other creators that you there's certain of subs kinda get stuck, right? Where it feels like you're stuck. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of stuck on my one channel, right? Just under 2,000. I'm monetized and I can see other growth, but literally I just go I get up to like 1992 I got to 1994, back to 1992. And I'm like, what? Why did these people stop subbing? And I can't answer that. Don't really know. Sometimes you wonder if it's a bot or an account that just was closed or stopped doing things. Maybe you did personally offend somebody. Who knows, right? But it is interesting because
Your
we really
content
bring
or your content change, and they subscribe to you because of old videos from 5, 6 years ago, and then you're not pumping that stuff out anymore. And then they're like, well, hey, I haven't seen a new whatever type of video in like a year. I'm just gonna unsubscribe and then go find somebody else, right? Like it's like being in business, right?
Well, exactly, exactly. It is. Well, YouTube, you can definitely it's a business platform. That's what we're really promoting. We want especially small businesses and people that want to sell their brand, they've got an item, service, whatever it is, using this platform, it is a great tool for that, right?
Oh,
And if you do take it like a business, now, of course, you've got lots of creators that just want to create content to entertain you. And that's another business form, right?
yeah, and I actually want to bring up our student who did start with us a couple months ago, and we went through the 8-week visibility training with them, where it's like, hey, YouTube wants to see fresh content every single week. That could be brand new lives, that could be existing podcast stuff you moved over. Just like keep adding something every single week, and then keep showing. Big consistency is what actually increases your numbers. Well, when I did a Google search yesterday and sent the screenshot to him, when you search for him on Google now, when you search on Google, and I wasn't actually on Google, I was on DuckDuckGo, right? So I wasn't even using Google, I was using a different search. Website's number one, YouTube videos is number two. So the rankings already. The one reason I love YouTube is the how quick YouTube will send. The dog is crying. How
I'm gonna say
quick.
that's also the dog that was sick just before we went live. So if you need to pause and deal with him, because I'm not anywhere near, you're
Yeah, so I
welcome
was just
to.
gonna say, one reason I love YouTube, how quick, high authority backlinks from YouTubers sent to Google search. Being
'Cause they're
consistent on
buddy
Google,
buddy.
being consistent on YouTube is gonna help you outrank your competition quicker. It's a way to game SEO. And I'm gonna go put myself on mute and exit the room for a couple of minutes. So
Okay, go ahead. And hello to Macord, I'm not sure if I'm saying that, 14. Thank you for joining us. And if you are just joining us live, we are here every Saturday morning talking about YouTube, giving advice. Ask us anything. If you have a question yourself, drop it in the chat. If you've been creating content, we'd love to give you some advice and help you with what we already know. We may not know everything, but we do have a huge amount of knowledge and experience from creating our own content and getting better and better at showing up and being consistent. So, what we had talked about is that, as the name of the show is now, YouTube has introduced shows. So now this hasn't been rolled out to everybody yet. That is has been rolled out to creators that are monetized. And this is it's a really great tool because if you're making shows, so if you are consistently showing up, doing a live, you're making a show, right? You're going to show up every week, same time, same place. You're creating a show. And when you put it in that folder, you can have seasons, episodes. It's easy to find. It's a really great tool. It's brand new. And so we've been playing around with it, getting our shows put under those tabs, and then people can literally binge watch. So if you're creating content every week and you're monetized, you can start to have a show. So they can start them at episode 1, and then they can just move through the content of the shows. You can also put them that the first and the newest show appears. It's a nice tool because clearly, I know my husband was saying YouTube has a shortage of content. It's not, I don't know if it's really shortage as much as they want content that people are going to watch. They want more quality content because there's a lot of content for sure. And then they want more eyes that they can monetize. So they really would like to get more monetized content out there. because they benefit, right? Because if they're monetized, they can sell more ads if they have more monetized channels. And still, it is a very small niche of people that hit that monetization. So we really want to help you get to that point so you can get, maybe you'll get lots of money because you're super, super popular. Maybe you'll get a couple dollars per live. That's not really the point. The point is that you rank and you can be seen, and then you've got that ability because once you're monetized, it gives you a lot of access to features. It's not necessarily about the money as much as access to what you can do when you're monetized. Because once you're monetized, and there's different levels of monetization. We've talked about it before. This is something we go over with all of our students. There's different levels to things that open up because once you get to 500 subs, you can get the online stores, and then you can have access to posting things to sell. Like one of my biggest perks is I make different documents, PDFs that I can sell or give away. And I can use the store to upload them, and then I don't even have to put them on my own website. I can still do that, but if you don't want to run it on your own website, you don't want to find a platform to hold it, it's a way. They take a tiny cut of whatever you're selling and you make money. So there's all these ways to financially gain once you're monetized. But the point is to get yourself consistent, and consistently showing up is giving that cue to people so they can legitimately join you, start watching your content. And then once you get that 1,000 subs, that's almost the easier. It's the 4,000 watch hours. The more content you have, the easier it is to get that 4,000 watch hours, right? So if you think about it, if let's say you're showing up consistently for, let's say 10 weeks, once a week for an hour, you got 10 hours of content. Now, if you had 400 people watch 10 hours of content, you've got your 4,000 hours, right? So it's the more you show up, the easier it is to get that. So this is why we really talk about not only that YouTube likes you more, because when you're consistent, it's a signal that you're trustworthy. And if you're consistent, and then you drop off, all that momentum stops. So we really promote you and really want you to make a show, whether it is promoting, like Mike was talking about, your woodworking and creating whatever you're doing, selling whatever you're doing. It's just getting your message out consistently. So you're showing up, you're appeasing the algorithms that they know you're behind it, helping that content go forward. And then you start to get to that monetization. And again, that's a very small group when you do get to that, but there's a huge amount of perks that you can use to help build your online business with that. So I see we have a question here. You're trying to figure out how to go live. Well, we were talking about that. So there's lots of different ways you can go live. Now, once you can now, if you don't have enough subs, okay, because there is a whole thing where you have to have, I believe it's 50 subs to go live on your phone. However, if you are under 50 subs, you can go live on your computer. So if you have a desktop computer, doesn't matter what, you can live stream vertically or horizontally, so the horizontal, and you can start live streaming that way. So you just go into the back end studio, hit your option, and live stream. Now, of course, like we were mentioning earlier, if you were here earlier, the difference between the feeds is when you're vertical, that's going in pushed by your shorts. So the vertical feed is great for getting new eyes, getting new people to come across your content, just kind of like putting out your signal. So you might get a lot of views. They may not stay for as long, because I do find I'll get more views on the vertical, but the length people stay is less than in my horizontal, right? Because the horizontal is more for the people once they've subbed to you, they're going to be watching your content on a regular basis. That's more where when you do get to monetization, that's where you're going to be probably making more money. But that's why the dual streaming is a great option. Now, you can also live stream horizontally and vertically without necessarily having those 50 subs if you use a software like Restream. So that's another workaround that you could do. So you could definitely invest in the Restream. Then you can vertically and horizontally go live stream, even if you don't necessarily have enough people. I'm correct with that, correct, Mike?
Yes. So if it was about live streaming, reason I chose Restream is because you can use it for free. You'll have the restream watermark, but in order to go live streaming, yeah, there's also going to be the question if there's an age restriction, and there is. So if you are a teenager, you're gonna have to make sure that you have a parent with you, because YouTube will notice that you're a child and you're underage, and they will disable your live stream. But when you need to apply for permission to live stream. That's the first step we go through with any of our YouTube students, is when we're showing them how to live stream. They're like, well, I don't have 50 subs. I'm like, well, you can do it from the computer, you can do it from a browser, you can do it from Restream, tool like Restream, but you have to go into live streaming on the computer, or from like a browser like Chrome or Firefox or Safari or whatever, and request permission, because then they're going to YouTube's at that point is going to ask you if you're a human. You're going to have to do like 2-factor authentication code, wait 24 hours. You can get banned if you do break any live streaming rules. You can get banned. So I just want to throw that out there, because our daughter's got a YouTube channel, and we may or may not have had issues with her live streaming. So just because she loves using YouTube and building her community, and she has over 3,000 subs, which is crazy. And she started out with like live streaming with the phone, just like gameplay, arts and crafts, drawing and stuff like that. And then she got in a little bit of trouble, because they can definitely tell it's not an adult's voice. So
Even though it was not her image. However, her passion is, she is an artist and a cartoonist, and she makes like clips and stories, and she has got a following that loves her. She's actually running a competition for the best version of her original characters. So there's a lot of places you can go. And so even if you are underage, you may not be able to live stream, but again, depending on where you are and what the rules are in the country you're in can also depend. Because some places you can't be on like social media, especially now with all these new rules, under 15 or under 16 or whatever, right? So you kind of need to know about that, but it doesn't mean you can't have a channel and start mastering your content, especially if you are creating skits or artwork or cartoons. I definitely really recommend that if you're younger, right? You're younger and you love that stuff, start getting good at it, because you master this process. By the time you are able to live stream and take advantage of it, you are already ahead of everybody else, because you've had years of practice. And with anything, one of the big things we've learned is consistency and doing your 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours is what you need. And, that seems like a lot. It is. It's actually a lot of work, the 10,000 hours. However, that is what gets you good. So the sooner you can start practicing, you start to get over that hurdle of 10,000 hours.
yeah, yeah. And I was actually told this, I think it was this week, a conversation with somebody about they brought up the 10,000 hours. I didn't even bring it up. And they're like, yeah, it's like 10 to 20 years for most people. And I'm like, oh wow, I've been saying 3 to 5 years for most people. And they're like, well, yeah, you're quick. You're the professor. You know everything. And I'm like, I don't know everything. I don't. I've learned that, right? I don't, but I may, because we've gone through high school, gone through university, gone through two dec 2 decades. How many decades of providing professional services I've been doing? I'm just willing
Stop
to.
aging me, please.
I'm just willing to spend, if I'm learning a new hobby or craft or tool, I'm willing to spend 4 to 8 hours per day if I've got the ability to learn something new, and just do it quicker, because I'm like, hey, this product or service is beneficial to my clients. If I can get paid for it, I'm gonna definitely spend a lot of time learning something new, because it may take me longer than 10,000 hours. But
Well, fair enough. Really learning this stuff, it also helps us get better and knowing what the tools are. And then it helps you have the knowledge so you can help other people. But the same question is, they're asking, if you press the button that you can't go live, are you able to undo it?
well, you're gonna have to figure out what you broke in the background. There's gonna be some type of flag on your YouTube account. It's
Okay.
either gonna be age flag, it's gonna be like there's gotta be some error message on your YouTube account stating why you can't go live, right? And unfortunately, like we've had students come in where they got started and they had really quick growth right off the bat, and then they get banned, and it's like, oh, you broke a community guideline or something like that. There's got to be some message on your YouTube channel on the back end, your YouTube studio, on why you can't go live. Maybe you're on a timeout window of 30, 60, 90 days. Like getting banned off Facebook or Instagram or TikTok for breaking community standards or whatever, and you're just waiting for that. So there's got to be some message on your back end on why you can't go live.
And that's what we can do. Like when we work one-on-one with you and you join us, we can help you go through it because we've had our own hurdles through the process and getting monetized and had things where my account, I had to go through re-education because I posted news, and you're not allowed to post news. So I can talk about things in a way that are okay. These are events happening. I can talk about them in our honestly though, and we can use the astrology with what's going on in world, but I can't really talk about news because Canada, you're not allowed to talk about news. So there was a point where I had shared something that was a news article, and this was actually a number of years ago. So it's before we even got more censorship. And I had a little mark, and I was so annoyed because I was like, this is
So she quit.
well, I didn't quit. I stopped doing any news. I was still doing videos and posting, but
No,
I
anyway,
ignored
it
it.
was
I
it,
ignored it. And then we were really ready to do monetization, but we couldn't get to that point until I removed that note. And I was like, I'm not doing re-education. So my husband did my re-education for me because I was just angry.
YouTube. You're not supposed to tell YouTube
Hey,
somebody else
I
to do
was there, you
re-education.
told me what the re-education was and my re-education, so it does happen, and we did also have a student where, um, he started a brand new account and got banned from that within, like, a certain amount of hours, wasn't that what was it exactly?
Well, the first account got banned. It's like, oh, is this the point in my broadcasting career when as soon as I get banned, I go open up a backup account? I'm like, yes, go open up a backup account. Then the backup account got banned. And there's just going to be certain industries or certain topics. I really think in his case, it was his email address, because there's just gonna no matter what platform you're live streaming to, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, there's likely going to be gray areas where they don't want certain topics covered. And he wasn't doing any of that stuff, but I'm like, your email address is that you're using a particular word in it. And if that is against community standards, then we don't know what ridiculous AI flagging protocols, review protocols are out there. And if you kind of like gray area and something gets flagged, I'm like, you're just gonna have to. It's like getting tagged and put into Facebook or Instagram prison. Like, you did something, you're just gonna have to serve the time and learn next time. Um, I'll bring that up because a lot, we've had this discussion with other creators. They're like, when they're like, why would you suggest YouTube? I like Patreon, or I like this other platform. And I'm like, I'm assuming you've gone to these other alternative platforms because of the subject nature of your content. And I'm like, you could just diversify your content. So the stuff that's gray area is paid for content on like Patreon or Substack or Rumble or whatever the case may be. But we want you to reach more audiences. So you put the PG version, um, the edited PG version, let's say, as a rebroadcast on Restream, and send it from Restream to YouTube. Because I'm like, we're all
Exactly,
business
because that's
owners.
also gonna give the message that so people know your content exists, and then that's how you promote, "Oh, you wanna go deeper with this? Join me on Patreon or join me in Rumble," or wherever you're putting your deeper, maybe, as per YouTube, more risque content, right? Because that is really how we have to go about things nowadays, right? So it's just using YouTube as a tool to be seen. So you can promote whatever you are creating, that, whether it is more in-depth, not approved topics, whether it's a product, a service, whatever it is, using YouTube as a way to get your message out. One thing I'm going to highlight, because I can't highlight this message, but I'm going to do a shout out to, there we go, Golden Liberator sent us 440 jewels. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. We worked really, really hard for those.
I don't know what I can do with those jewels completely. I know I've kind of looked at it, so I appreciate it. This might give me
Well, it's like digital currency in YouTube or whatever. That's why we're just teaching you from our experiences of broadcasting on YouTube for years. Like how many years of posting content before we hit eligibility for monetization in 2024. I remember sitting in Dubai and I'm like, oh, I'm at the monetization threshold. And then I was like, what do you do now? All that time and effort of posting videos, and you're like, what do I do now? Oh, wait, this is the next level, because when we hit the monetization window in 2024, it was a really small club as 0.0. Meet a lot of YouTubers until you're in the club and YouTube's sending you to invite only parties where there's other monetized YouTubers. You're like, I have no, like, what do you do when you get to this level? And Julie had brought this up earlier. It's kind of like now the pressure's on, right?
Well,
Because
and
now,
it's interesting because I think and it's also a side note, sorry, kind of related, but a little bit off that topic is I I think everybody goes, "Oh, once I reach monetization, it's like, woo, like I've saved my life and now I've got this income stream." Yes, but it's not necessarily like if you are doing really well and you got thousands and millions of views, it might dramatically change your life once you hit monetization because you might be making some good cash in it. But often that's not the case. You're monetized, you're making some money off your videos, but it's like a couple $100, right? Or it might be $100 that might take you a month or two to even make, depending on how long people view your content, right?
but
So it's
that's
interesting.
why we say there's so many other venues of return on investment from YouTube, like higher ranking on a Google search, because it's slow, it's just incremental wins. You're just like, hey, I've been doing this, I'm now monetized on YouTube, so now, and then, oh wait, look, my videos are actually ranking really well on a Google or an AI search, just because you've been consistent in doing it and compounding that consistency. So when somebody comes to, searches for you, it's like, hey, you rank well on Google search, and you did
And
that without paid ads, right?
exactly, exactly. And it's gonna be important because we know AI is not gonna go away. It's not. And so AI needs to be able to find you too, right? So when you rank on Google, guess what? AI is gonna find you.
Exactly. And then based on your titles and your descriptions, that's where AI really shines most of the time, is that because your titles and your descriptions in YouTube are all text based, it can crawl and be like, hey, they rank well, they show up, this is what their common themes are. And then AI can go in there, and as long as your titles and descriptions are accurate, um, then AI will give you a summary saying, hey, all these videos are about, building that fence or fixing
Well,
that
and
AC or
it's so
whatever
smart.
the case may be.
If you're on YouTube, you probably already know it's super smart that you can literally just go to a video. It's already got the little AI built in, and you can ask it questions and it can summarize up the video. And so there's a lot of tools with it. So the AI already knows. You don't even necessarily even have to really do a good description, but that does help because it's going to make it easier for AI to rank you when it knows, and then it's reading the transcripts, and then it's going, okay, this is what your information's like, and then it puts it over there, right? So it can clearly um, communicate to whoever might be looking you up, whether it's through Google or AI, what kind of content you're creating, right?
Exactly, exactly. I know the topic of this show was YouTube's introduced shows. Did you talk about that when I was out, or you were just
I did. I was
yeah,
mentioning that is into if you're the partner program, so you have to be monetized, correct?
that is correct, and
And
that's correct.
so now that and I was explaining about and if I missed anything, if you joined, if you're monetized, you now have this option to put shows. So if you're showing up every week doing a live, you're making a show. So what's great about it is you can put seasons, you can put episodes in it, and you can organize them. So if your viewer comes, you can make them go, okay, watch season one, episode one first, and then they can start watching and binge watching every episode. You can also lay it out that they just watch the most recent episode, but all the episodes are in one playlist, so you don't have the leak. Because I know for myself, I have come across creators where you, like, start watching certain content and you wanna watch more of that show content, and then you go to their channel and you can't find it, right? And you're like, "Where is that?
Or
How long ago did they do that
or
episode?"
or other channels are running ads against their content, so what you'll discover is playlist leakage, where you're watching a playlist and then all of a sudden you get shifted over to somebody else's channel, and you're like, "Why is that happening?" And it's because that other channel is actually running ads against your channel and stealing your audience.
And I'm gonna say it's interesting because anything I do is considered black magic because, I clearly yoga, oracle cards, and astrology is black magic. So I literally have sometimes after my content, if it leaks into like some kind of Mother Mary
No, you get Sunday
content.
you're getting Sunday mass after yours.
Because you gotta pray for your soul after you watch me talk about what the energy is gonna be like for the week. Pray for your soul. But on that, we've got 3 minutes left. So if there's any last questions, drop them in the comments. Let us know. And I think it's time to kind of roll over to let them know a little bit about our gold membership. So if this is stuff that you are interested in, come and join us. You can join us by becoming a gold member. You can go to, let me bring this up here. Where is here we go. You can visit at breathewithinyoga.com. You can just hit the button, you get our gold membership. You'll be notified when we go live. This is the way we communicate with you. We tell you what's going on. It's the first way to start. But if you're serious and you really want to work on your presence, start to get towards that monetization or that consistency, and you want to build your YouTube, the visibility engine, like this visibility university, is where you want to start. Why don't you tell more about it, Mike?
Yeah, you can go to IamYouTubeFamous.com, and we've got our three pricing tiers there, and realistically, every single week we have coaching with our students. So we got three different pricing tiers. It's really showing like every student really needs different. We've got our vision, we've got the frame, we got the YouTube visibility. There's moving pieces to it, and it's starting at a different level. You're either starting from scratch, or fixing a broken one, or becoming more frequent, right? And you need somebody to hold you accountable to show up and be free and being consistent every single week. And we know that there is going to be idea issues, thumbnail. There's like always something that you're gonna have questions
And
about.
so, really, what my husband's trying to say, we work with you. So whatever you're doing, because not there is no one size fits all content creating, especially on YouTube. There's not. And depending on what kind of content you're creating, what your purpose is, we are gonna help you specifically with your niche.
Precisely, because you could be, as I said, starting from scratch, bringing a podcast over, or only have one social media channel, and we're like, hey, with the visibility engine, it really works best. You get the most bang for your buck when you have multiple social medias where we can stream live or restream existing content to multiple channels, show you then how to make shorts out of those channels, and then resynchronize your shorts across multiple channels. So it's every content creator, every business owner is in a different situation with their content. And we're like, hey,
Check it out at I Am YouTube Famous. You can join us for free at the Gold. That'll get you on the email list so you're updated. Join us every week here. We go live 4 times a week. So our next live is tomorrow, our weekly energy. So if you do join us and it leaks out, then you'll get to, have Mother Mary pray for you at the end of the weekly energy. That's at 7:11 Eastern, so join us tomorrow. It'll be at the same channel wherever you're watching us, whether you're watching us on Breathe Within Yoga or I Am YouTube Famous. Monday is one of my favorite shows, Two Real, Two Truths and a Lie. We talk about
Kathy, your
technology.
favorite? It's my favorite now.
It's one of the funnest ones. It's fun, but it's dystopian because we find I have a backlog of dystopian stories of technology gone bad, and then I make up a story, and you got to figure out which one is true and which one's there's 2 true, 1 false, and it's always interesting because those false ones are starting to creep into reality as being true now. So it's a good show, and you'll of course see those on my show list as well if you are on my channel, breathewithinyoga.com. Thursdays, we have Honestly Though. That's the news astrology where I can go around the news, but talk about the energy and what we're learning from that. And then, of course, every Saturday, you can join us live here for YouTube University, where we talk about getting consistent, making content, and getting your message out to the people that are going to appreciate it.
100%. So join us next Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern for week 61, YouTube University. As you can, we live stream on Facebook, YouTube. Follow us. Come join the chat. Ask us questions, because it's the best way to learn is literally posing questions and saying, I don't know where to start, or I'm stuck. You saw in the chat this morning that the person who was asking us questions, they're stuck, right? And yeah, you can go watch a bunch of YouTube videos and try to get unstuck, but we have experience because we've been there. We've built channels from scratch and got them to monetization. Now we have students who are in our visibility university framework, and they got stuck. We help them get unstuck. They're like, how do I grow my subs? We're like, here's a few here.
Exactly. So when you come, you can ask your question. We'll help you out. And then, of course, if you need more help, that's when you join our Gold membership and join our university, and we work one-on-one with you. And on that, I'm going to leave there. It's now just after 10 Eastern. So we're going to head off for today. And I appreciate everybody for making comments. Again, thank you, Golden Liberator, for our first jewels. Thank you so much. And thank you, MacOrd, for joining us and chatting with us in the comments. And we will see everybody next week.